the next one is the war against Ukraine. So Trump has said that for now we should freeze the conflict, and whatever land Russia has, they keep. Whatever land Ukraine has, they keep, and then we can worry out the complexities later because this is too complex. He's basically saying freeze the war. This is the same type of thing that happened in 2014 with the Donbass situation, in which Russia stepped in to help the Donbass against the western part of the country that was aggressing it. And they said, let's have the Minsk agreements and freeze it. And they froze it, and it gave the US and Europe 10 years to arm Ukraine, and then Ukraine continued. So all I'm saying is that Russia should beware, because if they say freezes and you keep your land, it's just so that the West can regroup and send money to rebuild. So what Putin is doing is ignoring that and is going to continue attacking. Putin said that he'll meet with Zelensky when Zelensky is willing to concede the Donbass, which is rightly what Putin should say. And even after that, he would have to still have serious demilitarized zones like North Korea, where you watch them, and if they do anything in the next couple of years, you start attacking again. Now, of course, Zelensky says he doesn't want the deal to freeze the country because he wants more land from he wants the Donbass back. So we're at an impasse, and therefore the bankers win. The people who fund this war, whether it freezes or whether it continues, they make money. Because if they freeze the war, that doesn't mean free spending to send to Ukraine. You see what I'm saying, Kunle? But I think right now Ukraine needs a breather. So Trump is like saying, let's freeze it. But meanwhile, my advice to Putin is to continue your careful war of attrition, your slow, careful war of attrition, and wear these guys out, because the Western economy cannot continually fund this war, especially since we're having problems in America where Trump thinks there's a war going on in Portland and wants to send soldiers in there, where the U.S. is a failed state. But its government has been shut for almost 2 weeks now because they can't approve the budget. Europe is broke. They have energy crisis. So all I say is that Russia should continue the war and not listen to these guys, because they're just begging for more time to regroup and rebuild. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, personally, as a human being, I have no dog in this fight. I mean, when you see why people are fighting, black people should just be quiet. But as for the fight, looking at what's going on, yes, I actually was going to say the same thing. You took the words out of my mouth. And don't forget that Putin is a soldier, Trump is a civilian. Putin understands better than anyone that when you stop a war and an assault, so you have an advantage, that will give respite to the other side to regroup. I mean, classic example is Dunkirk, when Hitler, for no reason, stopped. Instead of going straight into Dunkirk, his tank stopped for a couple of days, gave the British a chance to escape. And based on that, the Americans came in and an entire Western Front was open. So no, looking at strategy as a military leader and knowing Putin to be a very intelligent person, whether you like him or not, there is no way in hell that any intelligent person of that standing would agree to any kind of stop. You have to just keep pushing whilst you have the advantage. You only stop pushing if you completed your objective. That's how you stage a war. Trump is thinking like a civilian and doesn't understand that people do know that there is a strategic advantage of giving to the enemy if you ask for a stop. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, Ukraine has had some victories. At some point, was the politics that started messing them around, and then Putin started getting an advantage, very, very difficultly won advantage. You know, that period of time when Starlink and Ukraine was cut off from US aid, he made advances that they cannot recover back, that America just cannot recover back. And he was thinking like a civilian doing deals against a soldier, a military man who understands strategy and tactics, and the importance of covering and taking the land and the ground that you need to have your advantage. So Trump doesn't stand a chance in this sort of argument.
And here's the thing. They say that Russia is now a wartime economy and is going to break their economy. My theory is that BRICS is doing so well. Russia's doing so well with selling its natural gas and its oil to India and China and co, that China and India and a lot of the global South are actually helping fund Russia's war. Because as long as they're selling that oil and fuel to India and stuff, whose economy is growing. It's helping them, and they can use the excuse that they have to go to a wartime economy because this is an existential threat to their security, and it is because the U.S. was talking about putting missiles on Helsinki and missiles on Ukraine to aim towards Russia. So this is not a frivolous war for Russia, even though Putin's making money off of it. He may even be happy to do this war because it's rich, but he has the excuse that it's an existential threat to Russia. Because Kuna, you know what would happen if you put nuclear missiles on Mexico, and Russia put nuclear missiles on Mexico? The U.S. will fight Mexico until Mexico is defeated, even if it takes 30 years. Abi, wouldn't that happen?
Yeah.
So what we have to realize is that Putin is fighting for the survival of his country. Europe and America are just fighting so that they can beat their enemy, who and it has no strategic advantage except for maybe they're trying to hurt BRICS. So I'll end it with that. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with you on that point. And also, there's a fundamental problem that Europe has is that Trump doesn't really understand or follow the Cold War or have the same ideals on the Cold War as the rest of Western Europe, or indeed many people within the US government. And he does look at it, he understands better, actually, than the rest of the world that BRICS is coming and there's nothing you can do about it. He understands that the dollar needs to survive for America to become relevant and supreme. And so he knows that he knows where the problem is. He knows that BRICS are a problem, are a major problem, more than the rest of Western Europe and the world is saying, oh, it's just a joke, a few big old poor countries getting together. But now Russia is beginning to thrive. The Russian economy, despite the sanctions, is thriving because BRICS is allowing China to do all the business that they need to do in Russia. And they have all their institutions and businesses ongoing. They're not going through the crisis that the West had hoped that they would have. Sanctions are not as powerful now as they were 30 years ago. 30 years ago, America put sanctions on you, you're out of the game. Now, America put sanctions on you, it's an inconvenience, but you can still function.
Yeah, and
And
you know what happened? Here's what happened. Everybody said, "Wait a minute." The Chinese guy said, "Wait a minute. Why I say I hate Russia?" And Russia said, "Why I say I hate China?" They put sanction on to us. Let's come together. Then they go to Africa. They say, Africa, they put sanction on you. Come join us. So in other words, the rest of the world said, "You keep sanctioning us. You now created a situation in which you are on the outside." You get what I'm trying to say? You
yeah,
are on
and
the
I
outside.
also also militarily, America has a lot of ordnance, but they do not anymore have the manpower on the ground. The only area where I think America is still fully powerful is their Navy and their Air Force. When it comes to putting boots on the ground, I don't think America has the abilities that it
No, no,
had
no, 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 no.
in the
Which is why
Cold
we're in a
War
danger.
time.
And which is why we're
Yeah.
in a dangerous situation now because they may become like a little biatch, uh, a
Yeah,
wife whose
America
husband
is
cheats.
more inclined now to just give you weapons than send her children,
Yeah, that's
than
why they
send
try
her
to regime
grandchildren.
overthrow. But they might become a little bit petulant and say, "We don't have ground troops. Let's just start a nuclear war." You
Yeah,
see
but
what
I
I'm
got the
saying?
problem with it. Yeah, I see. America's problem is that although they have the best technology, their technology is very expensive.
Yeah, but here's the
Whereas
thing.
other technologies are cheaper, so they can
Not
manufacture
only that,
things.
America's technology is falling behind. First of all, they don't know how to make hypersonic missiles anymore. Second of all, Russia has been using electronic warfare to jam signals for Ukraine. U.S. doesn't have that either. And then third of all, whatever technology the U.S. has is no longer relevant for war, like you said, because it's cheaper now. It's drones. The U.S. is behind in drone warfare. Sorry, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, U.S. is behind in drone warfare, and the weapons that they use, whilst they're still dominant, they cost millions. I mean, you're using $100 million missile to shoot down a $10,000 drone. You work out the more
Tomahawk,
economics.
Tomahawk missile.
I mean, you're going to lose eventually. And
Oh, no.
that's another problem America is having. But the image of the power of, oh, we'll just send you a little help and suddenly Ukraine fights better makes it appear like a little drop of help from America and Russia struggles. But I think that the amount of ordnance and weaponry that America is sending to fight this Ukraine, I think it's significant. I think it does affect their arsenal. They do need the cost, but it does
Oh,
cost
yeah, it's
America a
helping
lot
them.
of money.
Bakule, meanwhile, it's destroying the U.S. economy. Because in the U.S., if you have a flood in a small town, that town is devastated for 6 years now. Because all of U.S.'s infrastructure, ability for infrastructure and building, is being used to prop up a losing war. and genocide. So it's coming at a cost to America, which is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is rising because Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying we have an economic problem in America right now, and Trump is ignoring it, and our country is collapsing. And she's right because I live here too. I'm living in a house. Think about it. If I'm making $5,000 a month, Kule, but I have to rent a house with four other people and share the cost. It shows that $5,000 a month in the U.S. is nothing. If somebody added $5,000 a month for you now in Nigeria, Kule, how well could you live for the next 2 years if you were getting 5,000 a month?
$5,000 a month in Nigeria is about 15 million naira in a month.
And you're getting it
I
every
can live,
month.
I can live pretty well on 5 million naira a month.
Yeah, but in
I
the
can
U.S.,
live pretty well on
in the
5
U.S.
million.
at the end of the month, you have about $10 remaining. So what I'm saying is that the U.S. as a war economy is is destroying the fabric of the country. And once that happens, its industrial base falls. And China's industrial base is rising, which is why China is going to become the new giant. And Russia has the commodities. So now China's the engine, Russia is the actually the fuel of the world. And when they connect with Africa, with countries like Algeria and Burkina Faso and co, you now see something that even if their intention is not to beat the West, but it shows that they're as powerful, if not as more powerful in the West. What are your last thoughts on that before we head out?
Yes, the intention is not to defeat the West. It is not to show that they should be respected and they should not have their boundaries disrespected. Because the West have shown through their acts of colonialism that if you do appear militarily weak or vulnerable, they don't care. They will attack you and they'll take you out. If North Korea didn't have nuclear weapons, they'd have attacked North Korea by now.
Oh,
Any
they be done.
country that Western Europe doesn't like, that doesn't have nuclear weapons, they attack. Any country that has nuclear weapons, they don't attack. Which is why I'm going off tangent now. Iran needs to get nuclear weapons and get them fast.
I was thinking about Iran. It's good that you went off tangent. I was thinking about Iran, and I also think the only country we have to worry about now is Israel, because I think Israel will go rogue and will still attack Iran with a nuclear weapon if Iran gets it, and then that's the end of the whole world. Which is why the rest of the world needs to focus on Israel. I'm talking about Israel is becoming a bad kid. It may even ruin America's agenda. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
well, they've been exposed. They've always been bad. We just didn't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's clear that they're a bad kid. They've always been bad. So, because if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, the U.S. will tell Israel to stand down. But at some point, Netanyahu was like, "I ain't standing down. I am Samson. I am Samson. I slept here for a hole. Now I'm going to kill all y'all."
Yes, the world is actually dependent on the American people voting APAC out of their government before their government destroys.
Because once you stop the funding for APAC, you stop the threat of a nuclear war and a genocide.
Whether it comes from the left or the right. That's why I don't even like attacking the left or the right now. I don't care what their policies are.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, whether they're not supported by APAC or not, that's my priority.
Yeah,
I don't care what else.
You converted me because I usually attack the left, but I'm going to leave them alone now. You know me. I don't when I say I attack the left, I mean I attack the woke, the liberal right, the liberal left, because I think we were expecting them. We were expecting Obama and Clinton and Biden and all these guys. We were expecting them to change America into a
failed us. Yeah. That's why I said they're worse because they lied. They claimed to be
Republicans. They lied. They told us what they were going to do. All right, Kule. So I'll see you in about an hour for the last show. You've done good today.
All right. Not a blinking fight. I told you my internet is back and it's black.
Yeah, we have to work a little bit.